crabs and shrimp and fish. And I get fish I put it together. He's lazy so I can put it on the grill. So I'm always like this. But this is important. So what we have found out, this is Sister Rod. How you be, Sister Rod? I asked her to come here with us this morning because Sister Rod is Gullah Geechee also. And she's one of the best slavery enactors in the nation. And so we want to tell you a story about the journey from slavery to freedom. I want to tell you in our Gullah Geechee tongue. So that's maybe very important.
Gullah Geechee.
Ask questions, make comments. We're looking for new ideas from young people. And we want you to know that we also have a virtual tour so that you can get that complimentary if you text us and go back and share it with your friends. And we're now going to become movie too. So you can see it. But I want to tell you this. This is a little story of liberation. I guess I better tell them the bad news first. Okay, so the bad news first is that as we take this 2-block walk, you will not find one marker. It's as if it never existed. So our mission is to have 22 markers placed from point to point as we walk, so that next time you come, as Mr. Ross and I feel like we don't want to come downtown, we got some markers. We are the ones that know what's going on around here. And we are the ones who shall tell a story. I am Mende. I intentionally wore my Mende head wrap this morning to tell you that the Mende tribe, my heart is full. The Mende tribe was the fastest rice growers in the world. And 8 tribes came here, and the Mendes grew the rice. I want you to know that every building downtown is over 100 years old. The Ashanti were the best construction tribe in the West African coast, and they built all of these buildings down here. I want you to know there's no such thing as Southern cooking. You brought the breezy women from Liberia here, and they didn't speak the English tongue, and you just said cook. And so in downtown Savannah, there are planters' houses, and they pretended to be royalists of England, and those Geechee women had to go up and down the stairs in places like the Davenport House to serve 8-course meals every evening. We are the ones that know the going on about it. We are the ones that can tell the story. So as we walk, we want you to know that we walk on sacred ground, and we're going to tell you everything in this next 90 minutes. So that is the Georgia Queen, and we're so glad it's there. A slave ship was about that same dimension, except instead of 4 levels, it had 3. The slaves were on the bottom, the captain and his crew on the 2nd level, and on the 3rd level was the ammunition that the captain needed to protect the ship, because just as he is kidnapping enslaved Africans from West Africa, someone on the high seas wants to take his ship. If you come to Savannah, 3rd port of entry for slavery in the nation, Richmond, Virginia, 1519, Charleston, 1710, and Savannah, 1733. You can't just come with a ship, regardless of whether it's an enslaved ship or an immigrant ship. You can't just bring it here. You have to bring it to Lazaretto Creek. So let's do some logistical pieces here. Have you guys heard of saying you're up the creek? You have? Sometimes they say you're up the creek without a paddle, right? Well, they're talking about Lazaretto Creek. Lazaretto Creek is a 9-level quarantine hospital, and every enslaved ship has to go there and be placed under quarantine for about a month so they can check and inspect and inventory and prepare the slaves for the sale at our last stop, the slave auction block. At that quarantine, my name would have been Akosawa, which means born on Sunday. My name is no longer Akosawa. My name is Sarah, and I'm going to be sold for $1,500 based on the inventory. Then you come to this area here, and then you are inventory disembarks. And so we're going to walk. It's called Slaves in the City. There are 2 types of slave men. I want to kind of set the table at the last end. There are slaves from the plantation that we're talking about, and there are slaves that are in the city, that are urban slaves. So the planters from England own the plantations or the outskirts of the city, in the Sea Island, and they live in the city, and they enjoy the wealth of the plantation while they live here. So the slaves that are on the plantation are the ones that create the product, and the slaves in the city are the urban slaves that work for the planters, and they are on a task system. If you're on a task system, it means that if I'm a cook in a master's house, and I finish my task for the day, and someone else in the city is having a party or something, I can lease myself out to that person, and I can save my money. If I was sold for $1,500, I can save my money. Sometimes it took 10 and 15 years, and I can buy my freedom. Now, when I work with my master, though, I have to give him 50% of the product money, and I can save the rest. So we had some brilliant PhDs to come on our tour from the University of Virginia, and they said, Mr. Pat, slaves that were freed owned slaves. I said, no such a thing in Georgia. Not Virginia, baby, but if a slave bought his freedom, you would see him purchase the freedom, and then about 5 years later, that slave African man who is now free goes back and purchases some enslaved. You will look and flip the page over and see that the next day, the clerk of the court here freed them by a manumission paper, meaning that that was probably the husband that went back 5 years later after saving his money